everybody, and welcome back. And if you're new here, you are so very, very welcome. I'm Jane. My husband Michael is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, debt and mortgage free, and living a frugal, thrifty and money saving life on a super tight budget here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we open our doors and invite you into the living room for a mid-week money chat. Let's take a look at what we're going to talk about today. When a recession continues, and it keeps continuing, we all feel it, though all of us have a squeeze on our living standards. The power of our spending is drastically reduced. And I'm just going to give you some examples. I went to a fabric store and I haven't been in a year. I saw fabric had doubled in price. We wanted to get some tiles for our bathroom. The tiles had increased by 30% from a year ago, but the delivery charge had doubled, which took the overall price of the tiles to double what we'd paid originally. So we're looking at 100% there. When we're looking at food, for example, I keep receipts from a year ago to now, and I'm looking at, on average, across the board, 25 to 35% increases. These are big increases. They are affecting all of us everywhere. We all have to buy something at some time. We all have to do something with our money at some times. None of us are escaping this. If you've been here before, you know I like to start by being reflective, by looking at the big picture. And there is something that I do have to mention. Whenever I talk about frugality, spending our money wisely, or savings, or anything like that, there is the assumption that when we do that we have enough. When we are in circumstances that no matter what we do not have enough, that isn't a frugality issue. And that isn't a budgeting issue. That is an income issue. Any issues like that can only be solved with the increase in income. And I am not daft, and I'm not naive, and I know that is not simple, and it is not possible for a lot of people. Some people may not have any access to any childcare, there may not be any work where they are, and so on and so forth. And I am realistic about that. So as I say to you, whenever I talk about frugality, money saving, being prudent with our finances, the assumption that I'm working from is that we have enough. And I want to add this. If we have enough, but we spend all of it, we will soon make ourselves broke. But if we have enough and we use that money wisely and we save whatever we can, I can assure you it helps, doesn't cure, but it helps us get through these extraordinarily difficult times. Let's get started. Lots of the examples that I'm giving you today, I'm using anecdotal evidence from our experience. And the first one is a great piece of advice, is to reassess your budget. Whenever you have a written budget, and we should all have a written budget, it is something that we need to reassess every single month. Some people reassess that quarterly, and that is a really important thing to do if you're trying to build savings. But just everyday living expenses need reassessing monthly. And I'm going to give you two examples of where we have reassessed our budget. We decided that we needed to bring down our electricity bill because we know it's going to increase by 15% next year. Two things that we have done. One is we no longer use our dishwasher unless I batch cook, and then I wash it up in the dishwasher. But because we have a system here where we heat our hot water overnight in what we call a hot water cylinder or hot water tank, and it's 150 litres, we switch that on every other night because we have cheap rate electricity between 11 at night and 7 in the morning. So that's two things that we've done, and we brought our electricity bill down by €30 a month. It may not sound much, but that's a small amount that we can buffer other costs. We've also looked at things like our supermarket bill, which we set at $300 a month for all food, all drink, toiletries, cleaning products and so on. We decided not to increase that amount, but just to make the amount we had work. So that's just two examples of how we have reassessed our budget. So if you have a budget, look at every line on your budget, reassess it, and take it from there. But that is your starting point of how to get through this, and is to reassess your budget. Just in the same way that we need to reassess our budget as times are getting tougher, we need to reassess and, if required, build our emergency fund. So if prices have increased by on average 20 to 30%, we probably, if we can, need to build our emergency fund. We have a 12-month emergency fund that covers our bare bones budget, what we would need to pay our bills, to pay our insurances, to pay our food. And we looked at that and thought that at the current rate isn't enough. So we had to build that up to the amount that would cover. And here's an example. If you are at the early stages of finances and you have, for example, €1,000, pounds or dollars in your emergency fund, you might need to increase that by 10 to 20%. And you could build that up over the year to adding another 100 or 200 euros, pounds or dollars to that emergency fund. But have a look at your emergency fund and ask yourselves, at the current rate, is it enough? At times like this, we know that every penny counts. And if you owe any money at the moment, you can just see that money that you need to live off or you need to save going towards paying debt. It is temporary, but really make it your focus at the moment to throw all your energy and every penny that you would otherwise save beyond your emergency fund into paying off debt. Times like this, nobody's going out, nobody's having any great fun. You're not missing anything. You're not missing out on anything here. But make it your absolute focus. Because if things get worse, you really do not need that debt payment. So make it your absolute focus, if you've got any debt, to pay as much as you can, to overpay it and get rid of it as soon as you can. The next point, which I think is really important, is to keep up your maintenance schedule. For example, make sure that you look after everything you've got, from the filters in your vacuum cleaner, to the filter in your washing machine, to the seals around the door, to keeping things clean, to making sure that your car goes for its regular service, that you check the tyres, that you look at the maintenance schedule for things in your house, your boiler, some people call it in some countries your heating system or your furnace, but making sure that you keep up with those, because it is way cheaper than a massive repair if you don't. And anything of putting money aside for those essential things that cost money, for example, your car service annually, are a line on your budget. Another thing that it's vitally important to keep up maintenance on is yourself. This isn't the time to let your health slip. This is the time that when you get called for those health checks, that you go and make sure that you have them. Because it's a lot more expensive having time off work if you do get sick. It's very important that you keep up with dental checkups, because it's much cheaper than having a tooth filled. So keep up with your maintenance. It's the best money that you can spend. It's a line on your budget, and it saves you way more money than a huge repair. Next thing that's really important is brush up on any skills that you could improve on or learn that could save you money. For example, Are you paying anybody to look after your garden? Is this something you could learn to do yourselves? Are you paying someone to make your pizza and your takeaway? Is this something you could do yourselves? Are you paying someone to do your nails? Is that something that you could do yourselves? I could go on with a big list of this, and this is where you can join in. Is there anything that you've learned to do that saves you money? Share that underneath. It would be a really good thing to hear what you have done and a skill that you have learned that's saving you money. So another thing is things right now that you could avoid doing. And I say could because it is always your choice. Right now, this is the time to absolutely avoid unnecessary purchases. This is really the time you say, do I need it or do I want it? So avoid unnecessary purchases. This is the time to absolutely avoid waste. Don't waste water, electricity, don't waste any food that you've bought, and so on. And also, this is the time to absolutely avoid borrowing. I feel that at the moment this will be exactly the wrong time to borrow money. It would be the wrong time, for example, to get a new car on finance at the moment, unless you have absolutely no choice, of course. But is there anything else that right now you should be avoiding? Come on, leave a comment below. What should we all be avoiding right now to get us through these extraordinarily difficult and long-lasting recession? The last point I want to make isn't about us, it's about how we can do something in our own community. And I'm just going to give a few examples, and they're all about how we choose to spend money. So something that we can all do is just, if you are somebody who goes out for coffee, if the choice is there locally, that you can go to a small independent coffee shop instead of a big chain, because the big chains are going to survive. That's the same if you eat out at all. The big chains, they're going to survive. The small local places might be somewhere that you could choose instead. What we decided to do here is that out of our 3 shops a month, one of those shops would be through local retailers and small retailers within our local market, just buying our vegetables once a month from those small local suppliers. It's a small thing that we can do with our already shrunken tiny budget. It's just an example. When it comes to buying from charity shops, for example, you know, those small local charity shops where you can see there is no massive CEO, there is no massive structure, but they are spending their money locally and you can see where it's going. It is a choice. I'm not in any way saying that big charities are doing anything wrong or that there's anything wrong with big businesses at all. But it's somehow that we can do in a little way that we can put that forward. So when we have that money and we're deciding on where we can spend it, can we look at ways that we can spend it locally on small independent businesses if they're available? Thank you to everyone who watches. Thanks you to everyone who hits that like button. Thank you to all subscribers, old and new. We love your comments and we read every single one of them. I've brought up 7 points today that are what I feel important to us to get us through this deep and long-lasting recession. If you think I've missed something, we love your comments. We love the sharing community here. Please leave a comment below. Thanks again. See you again soon. Bye.